Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday Learning Live. Raise your hand if you were able to join us at our demo days on Saturday. We had a fantastic turnout of people coming in and getting inky and painty and buttery. But we know that not everybody can come to our local events. So tonight, Marcie is here to share with you what she shared with our in person guests at demo days. So she's going to be playing with some stencil butter. She's got some techniques. And I think it's easiest if I just turn it over to Marcie and let her take it away.
Hi, everybody. This is Marcie at the Papercrafters Workshop. Tonight, I don't know if how many of you actually made it on Saturday, but I mean, we had so much fun. What I did on Saturday is I pulled out my stencil butters. And if any of you are new to stencil butter, it's this whipped, it's like a soft modeling paste, and it has sort of like a metallic sheen to it. And it goes through the stencils beautifully. It is like butter, hence the name Stencil Butter. So I wanted to show you how you can actually mix colors through the stencil or on your counter, on your mat, to produce different colors as well. So this was the combination I was doing on Saturday. So I used the fuchsia and the gamboge, and mixing it together is a beautiful coppery orange. I might try this one a little bit today too. The watermelon and the summer sky mixed together is this beautiful, like a light purple. Again, this is a stencil. No, this isn't the stencil. We used this star stencil on Saturday, and basically we put a stencil down and we stenciled the yellow, the gamboge and the fuchsia, and then in the middle was it turned into the orange. And once we did that, we lifted our stencil, and then we took our distressed brush and we used that. We put the stencil down on the paper and we rubbed that on like that to get a second card front. But wait, you can actually do a third one. So then I misted my stencil with what I had left, and I could still get a third print. So you can, just dragging through one application with stencil butter, you can have 3 card fronts. And this one, of course, is very dimensional. This one, it's sort of, it's dimensional. It still has a bit of sheen, but I love the way it catches on the edges and it produces those ridges. Let's see, this one is probably a little bit better. So that's the stencil butter. Then you can really see the ridges here. They really turn beautiful. And then when you mix it with water, because you finally have mixed all the colors together, it's the final color that of the 2 mixed together that you'll get on your third card front. So again, this is what we did on Saturday, and you can see the sheen on the Vicki Boutin black mixed media cardstock. It's gorgeous. It really is. Again, I'll just show you one more sample, and then I will show you what it looks like. Again, that's the second one. And then the third one where I misted the stencil and used what was left on the stencil. Okay, so let's get, I'm going to put my paper down, put my cardstock down. So I have the Vicki Boutin white mixed media cardstock, and this is the Vicki Boutin black mixed media cardstock. I am going to grab the star. I'm going to use the little one, I think. So I'll use the little one. I'm going to grab. So with the stencil butter, make sure, I can't see if, okay, my screen on my computer is lagging. Make sure that when you are done with your stencil butter, you're going to tap it lightly on the table. That way, a lot of the stencil butter that you have up in the side there will go down to the bottom. And you want to clean your rims. And also, I do normally put either press and seal or plastic wrap inside to sort of, so it helps it not to dry out. Always make sure that you close your stencil butters when you are finished using them, because they do dry out quickly. I mean, not that quickly, but you don't want to forget them open. So now I'm just going to pull the gamboge onto the stencil. And you don't want to push hard because then it'll ooze out underneath the stencil. And I can put that one in because it's just the one color. Now I'm going to get the pink. Let me clean there we go. Now I'm going to grab the pink. Oh, that's just a little too much. A little goes a long way. Oh, see, I put too much on. Oops. Okay. So now you can either mix it through your stencil, like I'm doing, or you can mix it on the side on your mat. And then that way it will, it'll mix nicely. It will. Okay, so we're going to lift up, and that is what this looks like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go over to my black and do that quickly too. And then I will show you all 3 steps. So I went over again, from the beginning to the okay, Marcie, recoup. From the beginning. So the 3 card fronts that you can do through one stencil. Sorry, I'm just cleaning my palette knife. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you don't want to go too many different directions because, again, it could go through the stencil. And another thing that you can use, if you have one, and I know Papercrafter's Workshop has one of these. This is like, it helps flatten the stencil butter going through your stencil. And you can see, and it kind of pushes all the stencil butter down, and it makes it flat and smooth. Okay, so that's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip these over. And again, make sure you close your stencil butter. And we're going to grab the stencil brush. And now we're going to, I kind of like to go from the yellow and then go into the pink and then mix in so it goes into the orange. Okay. Now from the pink inwards, I'm just going to rub some of this off. There we go. And then mix together in the orange. Ta-da!
Marcie,
Yes.
Sorry, can you just move up on camera just a little bit? You're coming off the bottom
too down?
just a titch.
Okay. All right.
There you go. That's better.
That
Thank you.
Okay.
Much better.
Right.
Thank you.
So I'm going to lift this away. I'm going to sit that over there. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to mist my stencil. So I think this is my old painting one, but I think they have Spellbinders misters. I'm going to mist my stencil lightly. I'm going to add it onto this, and I'm going to use, actually, I'm going to clean this stencil brush. I'm going to take this one. And this is going to help using what's left on your stencil to make another background. Now, this one isn't as dimensional as the second one, but you can see the second one, it kind of catches the ridges. So there's still a little bit of, there's more stencil butter on the second pass than there is on the third. But you can have 3 card fronts, easy peasy, ready to go, add a stamp on top, a stamped image that you've cut out, and there you go. I mean, it's also nice on art journal pages. So what I'm going to do next, the other thing is make sure that you put your stencils in water as soon as you use them. And the brush that I love using is to clean it is the Nuvo double-sided stencil brush. This cleans beautifully. It gets into all the nooks and crannies of the stencil and it cleans it perfectly. It doesn't catch or anything. So now what I'm going to do with this.
Sorry, Marcie, before you move on, there is a question.
Okay.
Is that the same side you put the stencil butter through? So
yes.
if you
yes.
Okay.
So all I did was I put the stencil, pretend this is a stencil. I laid the stencil on top, put the stencil butter through, and then I basically just turned it around with the stencil butter still up, using what was left on our stencil to brush onto our card front, and then misting the same side and adding it a third time onto another 5.5 by 4.25 card front. But now what I'm going to do, let me just get an extra piece of paper. The fun thing with Stencil Butter is you can add, I am going to add some of this Himalayan musk. It is a wow stencil, embossing powder. You can add that on before it dries. Okay, I'm going to have that one. And then I think what I'm going to do quickly is add a little of this is the candy floss. I'm just going to move that over. I'm going to heat set this and you'll see two things. You'll see on the one side, if you keep it really close, it will bubble. But with the embossing powder, it gives it a completely different look. And you can use any colored stencil, embossing powder and just mix and match and see which combination looks like something you would want to use. I love the embossing powders with the glitter in it because they always really, and especially on the black watercolor paper, it's simply gorgeous. Now what I want to do, depending on how thick you apply your stencil butter, there we go, do you see it? You can have it bubble as well, depending what kind of dimension you want. I just want to see if it'll bubble with the embossing. Yeah, so it'll bubble with the embossing powder as well. Now they won't stay exactly like that. They will go down. Don't press it because they are hot. It's melted. But there are some examples of what you can do with embossing powder. Next, I just want to show you a couple of other samples that I did with that. Where did I put them? So this was with I think it was just right. So I used the seashell. Let's see, do I have it? The seashell stencil butter. So that's this, I used this one. And then I took some of my other embossing powders. Let's see, aquamarine, bee sweet, and Himalayan musk. And it gives it that dimension. The glitter pretty much stays on. And again, if you did that through a stencil, you could probably get 3 different card fronts. This one would be the only one that you'd probably be able to emboss because you have to add it when the stencil butter is wet. When it dries, it won't stick to it. I'm going to move these aside.
I've got another quick question for you just for clarification.
Yeah. Okay.
Darlene is asking, are you using black watercolor paper or the Vicki Boutin's black foundations paper?
Yes, it's Vicki Boutin's black foundation paper and Vicki Boutin's white foundation paper. Those are the two that I'm demoing today. You can use a watercolor paper by all means. I haven't yet used it on cardstock, I think, because if it's too wet, it probably will warp. So it's better to use a mixed media or a watercolor cardstock to apply to apply these. Now, another idea is using grit paste. I'm going to get some out. You can actually use this, the stencil butters, to change the colors of your grit paste, but it'll also give it that chunkiness that you want. I know a lot of people like the grit paste to be the white, so it kind of looks like snow, but that is, do you see all the little lumps and bumps in there? Now that is good for, let me show you. So here I pulled it through a stencil. You can see how it dries. You can do that. I've done it twice. So I pulled it through the stencil, and then what was left on the stencil, I brushed off with my stencil brush. So again, I love the way it catches along the edges, but it gives that real neat dimension. Another thing I like to do is if I have excess stencil butter left over, I like to also, this is just tracing paper. You could probably, I have a lot of tracing paper because my daughter's in interior design, so I just use this. This would be leftover. I can add it onto this, and then what you can do is, let me just see, you can use a die, and you can actually cut something out. You can cut like a flower or a heart, and you can put that onto a card front. Sorry, these long nails. I used one of my nesting dies, and then you can stamp something there, so it could be more of like a mat. I'm going to quickly, this was of course left over. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to cut it out quickly, and I'll show you how nicely it comes out. And make sure that when you're doing it, that you leave your stencil butter to dry overnight. You want to make sure it's good and dry before you put it, you use a die on it. Now I need my pokey tool.
So was that on tracing paper, the one you just cut out, or is that craft?
This is tracing paper. This is tracing paper. This one, yes, it is craft paper, but it's the, I think Tim Holtz has, does he have a thick?
The heavy stock?
The heavy stock?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just used my die, and you get this shimmery goodness. You can still form it because it's not that thick, and use them on card fronts as well. Also passing through the stencil, you don't have to do a full entire card. You can just do the bottom half, and then you can add sentiment or whatever you like on the top. This is another idea. You don't have to use the full card front. I cut it on an angle, and I put the stencil butter through the stencil. So this is the first one. You can really feel the dimension. This is the second time. So just brushing off what I had left on the stencil, and just stamping, and I haven't added a sentiment, but it just gives it a really different background, gives it a really great different look. So my next thing that I want to show you is mixing a stencil butter with, let me see, stencil butter with, where's my paper? I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to grab some of, now I don't normally put my water in these two-tone metallic sprays. They carry this at the Papercrafters workshop as well. But so this is still dry. I can add some of this powder. I gotta move it up a little bit. Some of this powder into the stencil butter, and then I'm going to mix that in. And the nice thing about this is, let me just get a piece of paper. You can mix it so it's fully colored, mixed in, but I love that you get these streaks of different lighter and darker pinks, or whatever color that you are using for that. I'm just going to wipe this off. So here I used this, I mixed it up really well here, so you don't really see a lot of the dry pigment. But here is our two examples using two of the different, I'm just wondering if I put them, no, two of the different two-tone. Again, it is a metallic spray, but it comes in powder form. And sometimes I'll just take out some of the powder and put it in another little jar and then save it so that it's dry, as opposed to just using it wet. And I'm sure you probably could add it to the stencil butter wet, but you wouldn't get these little streaks of different colors. Okay, so I just want to show you some samples. Oh,
Sorry,
thing.
Marcie, sorry, before
Yeah.
you go on, Darlene is asking, and I think she's referring to those leaves that you have in the top right-hand corner. We've got them in two different colors.
Yes.
Could you do a demonstration and show the folks how you created that?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let me grab my stencil. I am going to grab a different stencil just because I'm going to use the pink and the yellow again, the fuchsia and the gamboge, just because for me it's just readily available.
Just move up a smidge, please.
Oh, yes. That's my fault. I'm short.
All good.
Okay. So what I did is I just added stencil butter to little areas of the stencil. So I'm just adding here and there, just like so, cleaning off my stencil, my palette knife, and then grabbing my fuchsia and pulling that through as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my palette knife and glide and mix the colors around. Now, of course, if that happens, that just means that you don't have enough stencil butter in that area. But again, you don't want to push hard. You can pick up from different spots that have more of the stencil butter and then just add it through where you need it. Okay. All right. And there you have it. And then again, with this, you could add embossing powder. You could add, if you have any glitter, you can add the glitter to that as well. But what's nice is there are so many different ways to use your stencil butter. Another way that I love using it is also watering it down and use it as a watercolor. So I'm going to just add a bit of water to the stencil butter, and you still get that beautiful sheen. Let me just grab the black piece of cardstock, mixed media paper, the Vicki Bouton's foundation. And although it's light, you can still see the beautiful sheen that you get from it. And obviously, I love my little splatters, so you can definitely do that with the stencil butter. Another way that I would not normally use is something that Chris did this weekend is she used her fingers. So of course you can use your fingers if you like to get really dirty to apply the stencil butter. And this will sort of be, it's more on the flat. It's a little flat, but there is a little bit of it looks like movement or a pattern. So the thing with the stencil butter is it because it is a soft modeling paste, when you do apply it, depending on if you leave a texture, so if you pull it through the stencil and even doing something like this, it will dry with those peaks and valleys just like that. So it is thick and it will hold whatever you put through. So if you stamp it with a stamp, or if you have something that you like to make a different pattern on and just stamp it lightly, it will remain. So the next thing is, if you have a really busy pattern paper, remember that stencil butters are opaque. So it will cover your pattern paper and tone it down a bit. So this was the gamboge again. And I pulled it through the stencil, a TCW stencil. Here I added the same embossing powder, the candy floss. I added it before it dried, and then I heat set this part, but it really mutes the busy background. Cutting that out and putting on a cardstock, using it in an art journal page, lots of different ideas. Again, this last sample is, you can see how the gold really covers the background wherever you put it. And I also added, I don't know if you can see, some gold around the edges as well. So if you like that shabby chic distressed look, this is an idea on how to use it.
Marcie, you were using the embossing powders. Could you just use glitter, or does it have to be something that can be heat set?
No, you can definitely use just glitter. I just wanted to see what it would look like with, because we, a lot of people have a lot of different colors of the embossing powder. And I just thought it would be neat to use that and see how it works. I mean, it looks really interesting, and you'd have to heat set it, obviously. Otherwise, see this top part, I didn't heat set that. So it's just going to come off. So when you heat set it, it will stay and it will bubble just like this.
Very cool.
So many different ways to use your stencil butter, not just pulling it through a stencil and leaving it. The possibilities are endless. And the last sample I forgot was, I even used what was left on a piece of paper. I cut it out and used it for, this is a happy birthday sentiment.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing with us all those amazing tips. I think it was great right off the beginning to be able to see how you can apply it once and then get, 3 different backgrounds out of it. And then you just added so much more. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry,
go ahead.
No. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope everyone will pull out their stencil butters, that if they have stencil butters, and use them. That's what they're there for. Enjoy.
Exactly. Get them out and use them. Feel free to share with everybody in the inner circle, our customer group. And thank you, Marcie, for all that you shared with us tonight. We will see everybody tomorrow night for What's New. And we have a Lawn Fawn release coming up this week. So it's going to be a very exciting unboxing week this week. Thank you, Marcie. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.